Welcome back to the wood shop, guys. And one thing I have needed in my wood shop for a long time is a good tenoning jig. Now, I've seen these homemade and I really started to make one of those, but I figured a commercial one would have some of the things that maybe I wouldn't think about until later on. This one has got a lot of different features. Caught it on sale. This is the Grizzly H7583 tenoning jig. I'll leave a link to this below. Let's show you what this thing's all about. So before I jump into this thing, I'll just tell you some of the features. It does fit left and right tilting table saws with 3/8 and 3/4 miter gauge slots, and usually if it's 3/8, it has some kind of adjustment for that. Your material can be up to 3 1/4 inch thick. It has an adjustable bevel angle from 90 to 45 degrees, also an adjustable 90 to 45 degree backstop, and an adjustable 90-degree positive stop in case something ain't right. You can adjust that and get it exactly where it needs to be. A large clamp hand wheel. Let's open this thing up, see what it looks like. I can tell you from picking this thing up, it's not super heavy, but for the size of it, it's quite heavy. And as with anything, we got the instruction manual. A couple of the parts right on top here. One of the various clamps that comes with this. Packing foam, of course. The little hand wheel we were talking about. And I've actually had this thing for quite a while. Been wanting to do a video on it. Just now getting around to it. Couple handles. Some of the various hardware, Allen wrenches. Another one of the pieces, and we'll figure out what that is in a moment. And then the unit itself, packed in here pretty good. See if we can get it out. Now, as with about any cast iron tool you're going to get, it comes covered in that greasy stuff. So it's a good idea to get you some WD-40, some kind of cleaner, and clean this thing off really good. This stuff is quite greasy. However, this does prevent it from sitting on a shelf or somewhere like that, you know, and rusting and causing you all kind of problems when it comes in. So let's go ahead and get this thing cleaned up. And while we've got everything still apart, it's a good idea on any of your exposed cast iron surfaces, you know, not the ones that's painted, to go ahead and put a coat of paste finishing wax on here. A couple reasons. One, it'll kind of prevent rust, and two, it'll kind of help things slide a little bit easier. And that's always good when you're doing this kind of work. Just put that on there, a light coat. And the way I do it, I like to let it sit for just a few minutes and then come back and buff it off. And now we're on to assembly. Just to let you know beforehand, I actually did go ahead and set this with a machinist square, 90 degrees to the table, and most of the time that's what I'm going to be using it in. Very easy to do. This actually holds it in place, and there's a set screw at the bottom you adjust in and out. But on to assembly, we're going to get what they're calling the clamp brace, and it comes with two kind of larger diameter screws. I don't know if you can pick that up on camera. One of them's a little bit longer than the other. Go ahead and get this thing installed. The one bolt started. Start on the next one. Naturally, because the piece is thicker back here, that's where the longer one goes. And snug it up before we get the other one. And I'm not going to torque them like crazy right now. On to the next step. And on to the next one here, we've got a couple push handles. Now, we'll say Grizzly does a great job at explaining this, so that's probably not something I really need to do. Some people prefer to watch it versus reading it. So we're going to go ahead and install these. We got one up here, one down here, and that'll make it easier about pushing this thing back and forth. And luckily this doesn't take a lot of assembly, so we're on to basically what we call the last piece here, and they're calling it the clamp bracket. There's a little rod sticking out that simply slides over there. You got this large, what we'd call a fender washer, and a longer bolt. I'll go through here and you can see that attaches into this piece. Just hand snug it for the time being. And naturally, we got the hand wheel, and this particular clamp threaded piece, it actually has a flat on one side, so naturally that's where you're going to put that set screw. As I mentioned to you, I got this piece here actually sitting 90 to the table, and we'll get this back piece set here to where it's 90 degrees up and down. So I'm going to take just a square, and you can tell the top of this is out. I'm going to adjust that just a little. Okay, so just a quick overview before we do any kind of cuts on it here. I've got a piece of sample wood set up here. This is your clamp that's going to tighten it in place. You want to make sure everything's lined up at 90 degrees. This allows you to move this vertically. This piece is what you set left and right. This allows you to move this back and forth depending on the size of the wood. Of course, you got a couple push handles. This knob actually locks this vertical piece down. Here's the lock for that piece. This piece actually is the lock for the what we call the micro adjust, allows this to move in and out. This actually locks the piece here so that this will move the table in and out. And that's pretty much it. Of course, you do have measurement pointer here, and as you can see, there is another slot over there, and I need to move that over. And just a little bit of a heads up, I was actually using this and couldn't get over far enough, and I didn't realize it, but there's another hole down in here, so you could actually move this stop over just a little bit, and it got me where I needed to be. So let's set up and go ahead and get us a good easy cut here. Now, as you can see, I got this thing going. Now, I did realize at the time of cutting, there is a limitation. This black piece that's your upright, you can't go above that. And this thing is sitting about 3.5 inches above the table, so you can't go above that without hitting that. I don't know if there's a way we could modify that. Either way, you can see I had to move it in and out to get the fit just right. Now, I will admit I'm pretty inexperienced with these, and I think over a period of time, once I get used to it, this is going to be a very essential tool. But either way, for the first time, you can see here, show you how that fits. Nice tight fit. Now, I did actually leave it just a hair long because I raised the blade up to maybe 3 1/4. I'm not positive what the actual measurement was, but once I get that dialed in, I don't think it's going to be much of an issue. But either way, you add glue to that. It's a nice tight joint right here. So all in all, I think that's a win-win. Just adding a bit of glue. Nothing too crazy, a lot of glue surface here. Wipe that down. Take your sander and come back. So there it is, guys. Like I said, I got very little experience with these things, but I knew it would be an essential tool in my shop. It may very well be a good tool in your shop as well. I've ran into this more times than I can count, needing to make that type of joint, and you can try to do it on table saw or other ways, and it usually turns out a little wonky. But this adds a level of precision I've not had before, and as you can tell by that corner right there and how that joint has come together, that's going to be a great, game changer in my shop, just because of that feature. This is going to be great for making doors, whatever may call for that particular joint, or maybe not even that particular joint, because this thing is going to be able to cut a lot of different things. So that was great. I did have a little bit of an issue remembering which way to turn this, micro adjustment in and out, and that's just something I'll have to get used to. And I may even add some kind of a label just so that I know which way to turn it to go towards the blade or away. But that's just my own inexperience on that part. It's rugged, it's heavy for sure. Now I can't give a long-term review as I've just opened it, as you've seen, but I think it's going to be a great tool regardless, especially for the money I paid. I feel like being able to make these types of joints is going to pay for itself in the long run. So either way, that's going to bring us to the end of the video. Hopefully this thing is something maybe you're interested in. If not, I hope you enjoyed the video anyway. Just sit through and enjoy an evening of some woodworking tools. Either way, I appreciate you watching. If you made it all the way to the end, like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video.